Women in midlife pursuing fitness, we apologize. We've made it a challenge. You're at choice. You can choose what you want and buy what you need, but it can be hard to buy what you need unless you know to ask the right questions. In this episode, I want to point out a few places where you might be after this episode, where maybe you might look deeper, you might filter more, vet your resources for yourself better. I also want to revisit the recent topic about ageism and consider the role that fitness professionals, including myself, play for you. We're in a serving profession, we in the fitness industry. To serve, we need to fill a need. I think it's worth exploring whether that need is first identified by us or by you. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns, and I share what to eat, how to move, and mindset shifts that may help you with the first two so that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. And so today is a mixture of what might feel like two diverse topics. I'm going to literally point out some places where we as fitness professionals point you to answers, but in reality, we may be confusing you by not defining, giving you the what does that mean to me, and leaving you to then otherwise either draw your own conclusions, your interpretation of what that means, and or in the dark still yet. While we think we've given you the answer, we may have only made the waters more murky. And I also want to point out where we give conflicting messages about exercise and exercise as we age. And let's face it, as soon as we're born, we're aging. So I know that you have some kind of a reaction to the word aging right now. And you may not even quite realize or grasp it yourself. But I think most of us could agree, if we really dig deep, that aging is something we know is a fact of life. And yet, when I say aging, something probably comes to mind for you, either that maybe in the distant future, you'll be aging and maybe what that will look like for you. Or maybe now you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm already seeing the signs. I see the signs in my neck, in my décolleté, and my fine lines around my eyes and my mouth. And what else, right? Are signs of aging that you're going through. So whatever your reaction, your response, your initial thoughts, when I say that, there's no right or wrong. But I do think we have our own way of interpreting that. And I think that is where fitness professionals can go wrong. And I especially mean those of us who are marketing. We're publicly doing it. And as I'm doing it, you may feel like that's a dirty word, but unless those of us who have knowledge and heart truly want to help, unless we get the word out, you're vulnerable to those people who only want to market and don't necessarily care if they help, but they absolutely do want to sell you. So it's always been, for me, a dual message. I wanted to help people. And in doing so, I realized that I really want to help fitness and health coaches help more people, because otherwise my reach is limited. So by teaching at the university and working with 200 students every semester, I was having a bigger reach, or going to, than simply personal training myself as I became the personal training director, supervising almost 24 trainers before I left, and the 250,000 training sessions that we would do annually. At that point, that was a bigger reach. And yet I think then I have the responsibility to share messages like this one today that are maybe poking holes in what it is we're doing or uncovering them and talking about them, because they can't get better if we first don't identify, acknowledge, and recognize them. So bear with me while we kind of uncover all of these pieces. Since the birth of fitness as we know it, and interestingly enough, but probably not accidentally, I'm reading a book by Frank Shorter, who in 1972 in Munich won the marathon as an American. And I knew Frank from rally sport in Boulder, where I was for 6.5 years. And that club became my home, my gym family. And, it was a pinch me moment because I was there from day one. I observed a session literally the first day I was there of my boss, one of the co-owners of the club, leading a session with world champion triathlete Miranda Caffrey, known as Rinny. And from there on, it was on a daily basis when I was there and he was there, same day, I would see Frank Shorter. And that was a big deal for me, and it was a big deal to get to know him and interview him a couple of times. And if you're of this era and paid attention to running at all, back then, 1972, kind of the end of the 60s, the early 70s, that's when the baby boom generation kind of locked into jogging and running and aerobics, came out the book by Kenneth Cooper. And all of that was just beginning to happen. So when I say the birth of fitness, it's that era when we begin to pursue it on purpose as a way of, yes, gaining better control of our bodies, but it was also running became freedom for a lot of people and a different way of protesting in a way that maybe was more accepted by them than legally causing problems. But there's been a message ever since then about what fitness looks like, feels like, and is that, it hasn't left you with choices about what you wanted for yourself necessarily. We haven't, in the fitness industry, stood up for you. Not all of you. We haven't explained the details well enough. Instead, we go right to answers and advice and instructions and cues without a thought about how they land. And those of us that have taught emerging fitness professionals like myself have failed to relay to them the art of answering questions before somebody knows to ask them. That's in part, becomes a barrier to entry, and the barrier to fitness is low. A certification exam consists of questions that can be answered based on the minimum knowledge a trainer, instructor, or health coach needs to know to enter the field. The individual has to demonstrate their own desire to rise above the minimum in order to actually do so. And yet thousands of trainers aren't even certified or pursuing continuing education that serves their clients. It's quite a wild west, even still now. We've confused you, and I say we, collectively, the fitness industry, confused you with conflicting information. And though science does change, and that change will be a constant, among fitness professionals, many have made it a mission to quote unquote be right instead of sharing and adopting new knowledge as it comes out. There's a need to have the last word. Do you feel that? Personal training has become a one-on-one or small group expression of a blueprint used for classes and masses, or of a unique trainer's preferred method of training instead of the custom, the methodology, based on science to arrive at the best solution for an individual. Videos I've shared over the years in YouTube have given me a collection of comments that reveal at times women who have exercised or tried to for years, who have never heard some of the cues and the strategies and techniques for doing an exercise so that it increases the comfort and the safety of the exercise. They've never heard the definition of a certain term or a cue used over and over in fitness classes and in training sessions. And I see this now very clearly. So this, as I do this live, is 2022. And it has been really a decade, longer ago than that, but for a decade, almost 2 videos, if not more than that, per week, going into a YouTube channel. And I've learned from it, continuing to acquire comments from people that are, thank you, I've never heard that in all the years I've exercised and gone to classes. I've never heard that. And that to me seems wrong. One of those cues is engage your core, right? I'm sure you've heard that. A trainer said it to you. You've heard it on a video, or a live instructor in a fitness class has said that to you. And yet often we don't think a thing of it, or we realize we shouldn't be thinking a thing of it because as you look around the room, nobody else is. Nobody else is raising their hand to say, what do you mean by that? But for all of you unsure how to actually engage your core, first, an apology. We've not done a good job in the fitness industry. We made it hard because we've taught trainers and instructors how to exercise, but less so how to teach exercise and do what some rare intuitive ones can do. Answer the questions before you know to ask them, or you can put them into words. Here's what teacher means. Here's what that teacher means when she says engage your core. So many other areas where we need to explain this better for you, and I hope this helps. The keys to the kingdom, right? Core does matter so that life gets easier, but not because it's going to provide you with a flat belly or with a six pack. I will include the link to the video where I explain what engage your core truly means. I'll put that in the show notes. Literally, I will embed it in the show notes, so it will be here for you. Most fitness advertisements are highly suggestive that you want to lose weight, or that you should want that. Have you noticed it? I, on the other hand, suggest, and maybe equally offensive, that you should be lifting weights. We are together collectively in our own way telling you what you should want to do. Now, if it were a Pilates studio owner, they're most likely telling you that you should be doing Pilates, right? So it goes endlessly on whatever niche someone has. For optimal health, it seems proven true in science that you need to be maintaining your lean muscle mass. So in self-defense, I come out with this. However, my question now is it my role to tell you that this is what you should want? You should want optimal aging, and then the way to get it is by maintaining your muscle mass, and then the way to get it is to be strength training. I don't know that all of those things are true. And I do know that some are just willing to be content riding the train and only doing the bare minimum and allowing time to do whatever it will. And maybe that is none of my business. So I'm struggling with this one. It's right where one of my younger colleagues has hit me right between the ears. I'm thinking about this. So right now, I'm still digging in my heels that yes, it is my role to educate you that we can change the way we age. We can link our muscle mass or lack thereof to the amount of brain function, cognitive ability we will have later, to our memory, and to our ability to be independent and to fend off diseases. And is that a social responsibility each one of us has? Now it's that conversation becomes a little political, doesn't it? So I tell you these things because I'm curious about what your thoughts are about what you think is the content that you want to hear. I think we don't know something until we don't know something or till we know it and we realize how much we don't know. And I think that is very important for us to each consider that, like once I knew smoking is going to kill you, if I care about you, I'm going to encourage you to stop smoking. So selfishly, because you're going to die painfully and I'm going to have to watch you do it or care for you. And selfishly, because I think you have gifts and you're not going to share them if you're not fully functioning. That colleague, by the way, who's making me think twice is fellow strength and conditioning coach Molly Galbraith. And Molly is the co-founder of Girls Gone Strong. And she's challenging my thinking all the way around so far. Not so far that I'm going to change what I'm doing, but I am going to look closely at changing how I do it. I'm going to clarify Flipping 50's messaging and purpose. Anyone who doesn't want to hear how optimal aging or how that happens or learn the science about maintaining muscle mass and strength and bone and brain health through exercise will potentially be off-put by our message. And that is okay. That is actually good. So there's a saying in business and in advertising or marketing, not that you want to be offensive or need to be, but that a message that is clear enough will repel the people who are wrong for it, who don't want it, and will attract more of the people who do. And there's a certain persons who are already looking and seeking. And then there's people who don't know they're actually seeking information about strength training because they don't realize the power of it. They may simply be seeking information about menopause and exercise. And on the periphery, not realize that though they're exercising, they're doing it in a way that actually pushes what they want further away. Then is it my job to educate them? I think yes. So, on the other hand, someone who wants the answer to why isn't what I used to do working? Should my daughter be changing too? How do I lose the fat? What kind of fuel makes the fitness more rewarding at this stage? They'll absolutely feel like they're in the right place. That's my goal. Molly of Girls Gone Strong is taking a stand for women's rights to choose what's best for their own bodies. She's doing that so much that Girls Gone Strong, they're promoting a neutral message about exercise. Rather than telling women they should be strength training, they are promoting that it's a woman's choice how they want to exercise and whether they want to strength train. Although she will admittedly say, oh, and I hope they do strength training because it is so good for them. However, the overriding message, the high road, if you will, that she's taken is a movement of a woman's choice is a woman's choice. If she chooses body weight or yoga only or walking only, it's her choice. And it's a ballsy move, and I applaud it. I may not be as big a woman as they support women in their safety and their comfort in the weight room and make fitness professionals aware of sexist comments that make women uncomfortable and more. I mean, Molly has really done a great job with establishing this, not just a business, but a movement around women, around fitness professionals and health coaches as well, who especially work with younger women in pre and postnatal. And they also have some features on menopause and working with fitness professionals who want to work with women in menopause. I don't know that they're to the depth or validity of the Flipping 50 fitness specialist. And I can't even comment on that until I've literally done it or taken it myself. So that would be the next thing, is to carve out time to actually do it. But I love what they're doing, what they're standing for. And for many of you, I've been asked before, like, who should I follow? Who should my daughter follow? And they're a very good resource for this huge reason that they are pro females, strengthening them, confidence, giving them the ability to stand up and say, this is not right, the way I'm being made to feel, and doing that in the fitness arena so that more women are more comfortable in the weight room should they choose it. And that got the ball rolling for me on all of this when I began to look at the thoughts about menopause and all the marketing messages telling women how badly they were going to feel, how many symptoms they were going to experience, and the weight gain and metabolism slowing that is, and by the way, is erroneous. All of it that menopause causes. It does not, by the way, and you'll find in the show notes, this statement that I just made is to make the point that there are a lot of people there convincing you in their memes and their live videos that this is what's going to happen when you're in menopause and that you'll gain weight. And the weight gain during menopause is how people start. And yet it's like, let's be clear. The weight gain you experience, but don't have to, you've experienced because of lifestyle habits, because of maybe a failure to match your habits to the hormone profile that you have now. And all that weight gain is a sign it's time for a change. What you're doing isn't working. Here's the feedback you got. Let's change it. And we've known that now for, I've started in 2013 and 14 to really get on the bandwagon because I knew it after studying, and it's time to share it. More women should know it. More trainers and health coaches should know it. But unfortunately, they too don't. They don't even recognize sometimes the signs they're in perimenopause yet themselves. There's another error of omission that we make, and that would be something related to you by a fitness pro and leave your prior experience or personal belief to tell you what it means. So here's an example. This is quote unquote from a study. Insulin sensitivity was reduced in early postmenopause women. However, postmenopausal women increased peripheral insulin sensitivity, skeletal muscle insulin stimulated glucose uptake, and skeletal muscle mass to the same extent as premenopausal women after 3 months of high intensity training. Now, how would you interpret that? So let me summarize it, but I'm not going to interpret, right? It's just saying that insulin sensitivity does experience problems, decline during menopause. But after 3 months of high intensity exercise training, peri or postmenopausal women return to their premenopause insulin sensitivity. It all improved. But that statement alone is not enough to tell you what is, in this study, high intensity exercise. And yet a lot of trainers and health coaches would relay this information and leave you guessing. And I'm just going to take a stab at what you probably thought that meant is high intensity interval training. Nothing was said about that. It is actually high intensity strength training that got the results. So a lot of readers who immediately think HIIT would be wrong. High intensity strength training is included in this description, and in fact was the exercise in the study. And that's simply a way researchers express a higher percentage of load. In other words, heavy weight and fewer repetitions in protocol. A trainer who, again, relayed that study, but not completely, would have you guessing at what that is. Today, as I gathered the science to host one of our Flipping 50 monthly master classes, those, by the way, are all free. Our subscribers get notified. If you randomly see it and you're not on our subscriber list, you're lucky. Seats fill first, but I digress. I want to come back to this. I came across an article in my research this weekend, and it did everything possible to imitate a credible source of information. That's where it was. So I put the image of it on the show notes. The article was something like 4 exercises for older women or something similar. The article was written or at least updated in 2020, which made me practically cry. It would have been more appropriate in 1920, because what I'm going to read to you is a quote from the article. Cardiovascular activities, and this was number 2 out of 4 in this article. Cardiovascular activities like running, walking, or cycling can boost natural hormone production and increase blood circulation. Just be sure not to overdo it. Putting too much strain on your muscles can be dangerous for older women. I want to throw up a little. Okay, first of all, in the research for the last 7 or 8 years, what is common and frequently seen in research featuring women in menopause or post-menopause is that it works only if there is adequate intensity. The takeaway for you is that you've never needed intense exercise more in your life than you do right now. Essentially, what you and I are doing are taking up the slack where estrogen left off. Whether you choose to do hormone replacement or you don't, you are responsible for a heavier workload, a higher intensity exercise, so that you can stimulate the overload responsible for gaining lean muscle mass and therefore increasing lean and decreasing body fat. And this makes it sound like you need to live in a bubble. The contributors, as I did a little homework to find out who is this, going to the About page, for instance, I said, I needed to know who's writing this crap. Who's writing this? The contributors weren't quoting primary research, number one, nor were they quoting doctors or other experts. They, in fact, were IT experts, technology experts, and social media experts. So if they got you to the site and to stay on the page for a time, reading anything they wrote, they won. That's all it takes, because then advertisers will pay a higher price to them for ad space targeting you. Yeah. So it's an information seeker's paradise right now, and it's a landmine. So the point of this episode, again, to bring you back to my intro, is that you feel heard, and that if you've been confused, I understand it, and I'm sorry. My hope is that your antenna is up a little bit higher now about the need to filter and vet your own resources. You know to ask, to probe, to let your own fingers take you to PubMed and look for primary research instead of vulnerably read an article published by any who, anywhere with a computer or nowadays a phone who wants to publish an article for whatever reasons they want to publish it. So further, I hope that you're not allowing me or anyone else to tell you how you should age or what you want for yourself. I hope you choose health for yourself. And if you choose to come to find the science about menopause and beyond, and someone who will catch you if you blame anything on age but lines from Smiles and Tears that scream meaningful life and love, then I will be here. And if you are, oh, well, there's this. You're welcome to catch me. You can catch me in the act of failing you. So if I am not giving you the neutrality that you want and need and staying in my lane by not telling you what you should want, but by telling you, if you want this, here's what the science says. It's been my goal to do that, but I do think every once in a while, even I lose sight of that and am pushing something on you that you may not be choosing for yourself. So, the Flipping 50 Cafe is open for enrollment right now as I do this live for a very, very short time. The Facebook group, Flipping 50 Insiders, is a free option of a way to be around me, our community coach, and other women just like you who are making changes, who are sharing questions that may appear in podcasts like this as a Q&A. And there are ways to connect where you can get the information that you do want delivered in a voice or in a way that feels comfortable for you. And I hope that you find that you've found it here, or that you keep searching for it for you and for those younger daughters or younger generation that you mentor. I look forward to hearing your comments about this, about how are you feeling about marketing messages? Later this year and early in next year, I'm going to be doing more presenting on what it's like to market responsibly to women of any age, any size, and support health and fitness in a way that is not a one-size-fits-all, but is a one hope for all, and really defining what fitness is and what it is not. And most of all, what it is to you and to each individual one of us. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.